to the Escapart Podcast. I'm Stuart Burrell. Thank you for listening. The following is a list of 5 escapes that make me go, yes, I want to do that. No. Thinking about it, no, I don't. Just no. No. Sorry. No. I don't want to do them. No. Sorry. No. And that's the official title for this podcast. The reality is that escapology is dangerous. Whereas in magic, if things go wrong, the fail-safe position is you're holding a pack of cards or the silk is still in your hand. In some cases, escapology by its very nature doesn't fail safe, it fails to deadly. So just to be clear, these are escapes that I personally am fascinated by. And on one half of me, I would love to do them. But there are also ones that scare me to death, and in the cold light of day, I am not going to do them. I am too scared of them. They frighten me, and I am a coward. This list is presented in alphabetical order, and in no way, shape or form is a reflection on the very skilled professionals throughout history that have actually achieved these effects. This is me being honest, saying, I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. And again, I'll make it clear, this is not a criticism in any way, shape or form of the professionals who do these effects or the actual escapes themselves. It is purely, on analysis, the risk to reward is too high. Let's start off with one that's called collision. This is an escape that's been performed by a gentleman by the name of Steve Baker, also known as Mr. Escape, and other magicians have emulated their own versions of it. But this is a full view escape. Mr. Baker is tied to the side of a car that is stationary across the line of traffic. That car, the stationary one, is filled with explosives. Another vehicle is driven by a stuntman at the car, at the escape artist. Basically, the point of impact would be the human being. On impact, the car explodes. Mr. Baker is tied by hands and feet by chains and locked in place by padlocks. He has, depending on the length of road and time, between 15 to 20 seconds to get out, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. And he always gets out, but he gets out literally at the last possible second. Now, I wouldn't do this escape for 2 very simple reasons. Firstly, it's actually somebody else's intellectual property. It belongs to Steve Baker. It is his escape, and it will remain his escape until such time as it passes into public domain. People have created homages to it, or references to it, or riffed off of it, but it is his. So for the first reason I wouldn't do this escape is because it's not mine to do. Also, even if it was mine to do, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, because it is too dangerous. You are entirely reliant on timing and the car being able to take avoiding action. It is a testimony to the skill and the professionalism of everyone involved that there hasn't been a serious accident, but it is too large a risk to be mitigated totally. And as a result, it's on the list of an escape that, yes, part of my brain goes, yes, I want to do that, that looks so cool, and the rest of my body goes, you must be joking. Give up, don't even try it. Which brings us on to the second escape that makes me go, yes, that would be brilliant. Actually, no, we're not going to do that, no. And that is an escape called Death Drop. It has many other names, but basically it is where the escape artist is padlocked, manacled and secured in some form or another and thrown out of an aeroplane at a certain height and has to escape before they hit the floor. Again, this one is public domain. This is referenced all the way back to Houdini, who planned to fly an early Wright Brothers Mark II aircraft, I believe, through just above the streets of London, and then swoop into Piccadilly Circus and leap from the plane and land and be safe and sound. Now, that sounds quite preposterous, and his plan was never actually put into fruition. But since then, a number of escape artists with massive amounts of courage have leapt from planes, manacled, restrained in some form or another, and skydived to a point where they can get out and then open the parachute. That is amazingly impressive, and it's an incredible feat, and impressive, and an amazing televisual experience. But here is the thing. Many performers have conducted this escape, and one of them was the amazing Murray, the man who gave escapologists their name. One thought occurred to him on more than one occasion as he was preparing to do this, and it was, what happens to the handcuffs? Do the handcuffs fall away? And if they fall away, what happens if they hit someone? Can you imagine the insurance bill? Can you imagine the insurance claim? But also, from my point of view, how many tickets can you sell to a skydive? How many people can actually come and watch? Yes, it's brilliant on video. Yes, it's brilliant on TV. But how many people really can you get to enjoy the spectacle of you escaping as you're falling through the air? This, again, not a criticism. It's not a dig at anyone who's done it. It's purely, if you're going to take that level of risk and people are going to be watching it on a monitor, then they're going to start questioning whether or not camera tricks are used. Even if they're not, even if you do it 100% for real, as soon as you put it on a screen, as soon as you put any device between you and the people watching, they start to suspect it's a magic trick, because we're using the vocabulary as magicians. As escape artists, we have a common ancestry, we have a common history. And as soon as you start saying, I'm going to hide behind this screen, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, people expect there to be some sort of magic, some sort of chicanery. And if you're going to all the risk of legitimately throwing yourself out of a plane, manacled, getting out of the manacles and landing, and people think, it's a camera trick, that was pre-recorded, then it raises the question, why go to the effort in the first place? It's not and again, I'm saying this so many times, it's going to sound like a broken record. This isn't a dig at the guys who've done it. This is purely where my mindset is right now. And no offence is intended, they've got courage beyond compare to have even thought about it, let alone do it. And my hat is off to them. But it just scares me. And for that reason, that's why it's on the list. Which brings us to number 3. Again, this is in alphabetical order, and it's purely escapes that make me go, yay, I want to do them, but I'm scared, and no, I don't want to do it. No. Thinking about it, no. The third one is Doors of Death, Norman Bigelow. The Doors of Death are a unique creation of Mr. Bigelow's. They are his copyright, his knowledge, his domain, and 2 reasons I wouldn't do it. First of all, it's because it's still his intellectual property, and secondly, they scare me. They are a legitimate device for impaling a human body onto a lot of knives. People say, oh well, it's magic. No, this was not an illusion. This was legitimately, effectively, 2 doors that were spring-loaded, that at a certain time, if the human being wasn't out of the way, he gets turned into a pincushion. And for that reason alone, I wouldn't do it. So yes, it looks cool. I would love to do it, but I'm not going to. No. And it's not because of the fact I couldn't work out how the escape was done, because Mr. Bigelow was secured in by handcuffs and he did his escape in full view. In terms of the mechanics of undoing the locks and the mechanism, it's incredibly simple. But the fact remains that it wasn't an illusion. It was for real. And at any one time, things can go wrong. Things can break, things can snap, things can shear, things can happen that are outside the control of you or any of your colleagues or any of the safety apparatus you put in place. So yes, I really, really, really would like to do it. But equally, no, I'm not going to. And you can guess why. Which leads me on to the 4th escape that looks really, really brilliant and I would really like to do, but no. And that is the milk can or milk churn or milk barrel. It is effectively an oversized milk churn, hence the name, and it's large enough for a human being to climb inside. Now, some of you, when you were younger, may have played and had the opportunity to climb inside barrels or pipes or water butts or large containers. And When I was young, I used to climb in large oil drums because I had an opportunity to be near a place where cars were serviced. So as a kid, during the summer break, you could have a whale of a time pretending it was a robot or a tank or whatever. I'm older now, and first of all, I've grown up. I'm larger. I'm now 6 foot as opposed to 4'6", which is what it was at the time. And equally, I've developed muscles. I've set all these world records, so I've got fairly muscular shoulders. I tried to climb into a 75-gallon oil drum recently. I couldn't fit inside. I couldn't move my body into a place where I was actually comfortable. And a milk churn is about the same size. So here's the thing. To perform this effect, you will climb inside an oversized steel can with no way of summoning aid. There's no glass, there's no window, there's no way of getting anyone to notice you. You are then going to climb inside this very tight, cramped situation where you could cramp out. You could find yourself suffering some sort of muscle spasm or twist. In fact, James Randi, the amazing Randy, had suffered an issue with his back when he climbed inside the milk churn at one point and was hospitalised. So even before we've added any danger elements, it can cripple you. Now, let's talk about the danger element. Inside this can, where no one can see what's going on, you're going to fill it with water to the brim. So you get into a chamber that no one can see what's going on and you can get cramp. You fill it with water, and then you get someone to place the lid on it and put padlocks on it on the outside. Then you cover the churn with a cloth or put a screen in front of it so the audience don't get to see the trick that you do to get to the padlocks. That's fine. Unfortunately, no one can see you either. So you're in a tank, you're in a chamber, you're filled with water. You can't scream or shout or call for help because you're underwater. You can't reach the thing locking the lid on without doing a certain magic trick. And music's playing because the audience is able to just look at a screen. So you've got some loud rock music playing. The chances of someone hearing you scream or shout or bang on the can for help are 0. And for that reason alone, I wouldn't touch a milk churn escape with a barge pole. In fact, you can list performers who have had narrow escapes. Harry Houdini had a narrow escape in the milk churn. We've already mentioned James Randi, Steve Santini, David DeVal. The list is endless of people who have had close calls in one form or another dealing with this escape. So yes, on the one hand, it is an amazing escape, it is cool, it is brilliant, and it is dynamic. But on the other side, if everything goes wrong, it will kill you. Which brings me to the last escape on this list, which is called the roller coaster escape. Now, there are 2 versions of this. There's the one, mostly pioneered by the English, that actually has a Guinness World Record attached to it. And there's the other, performed by Steve Baker and Lance Burton and a number of other performers, which requires you to be tied to the tracks of the roller coaster and get out before the carriage hits you. I'll say that again. You're tied to the tracks of the roller coaster and you need to get out before the carriage hits you. This is not something I would like to do. I've encountered, I have endured, and I have gone through the British version where you sit in the car and you've got to get out as you're going round. But in both cases, the spectacular escape is limited by location. And also, if you are doing it as a televised spectacular, the same principle that applies to Death Drop holds sway here. People would accuse you of a camera trick, even if you didn't. And for that reason alone, whilst this is the most amazing escape you can ever conceivably do, I wouldn't do it. I've done the one where you ride the carriage, and to prove it, here is possibly the most embarrassing audio recording of me ever, as I try and escape from 4 handcuffs and give a commentary as to where I am on the actual roller coaster. Apologies in advance, there is some screaming.
And oh dang, here we go, going up. Going vertical. Going vertical. Okay, I'm inverted. Okay, go in now. Go into number 2. Right into the ligament. Into the ligament. Try to get the second cup off. Not happening. So, 0 G-roll. 0 G-roll. Into the double back. Into the inversion.
For fundraising, we raised a lot of money for veterans by doing that, but the fact remains that if you asked me to lie in front of a speeding carriage of a roller coaster, I would decline. So that's my list. That's 5 escapes that, whilst they're cool, part of me would love to do them, but the rest of me says no, absolutely not. No. So do you agree with the list? Do you have a different list? Would you put something else in there? Feel free, like, subscribe, share, discuss, and please bear in mind, I'll say it one more time, this is not a criticism of any of the performers who've done these effects and these stunts and these escapes. This is not a criticism of the escapes themselves. This is purely me putting my thoughts out there. You're entitled to disagree, you're entitled to have a different opinion, and all I ask is that you share it and we can have a sensible discussion. Thank you for listening.